Hello there and a very warm welcome. I'm Ethna Trainer and I can guarantee you that all of my friends at Gastech are diligently working hard to bring you one of the most important conferences of the energy calendar, Gastech 2022. In the meantime, I get to do the pre-conference interview and I'm absolutely delighted today to welcome our very, very special guest. She is the former Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and also the co-host of the podcast, Outrage and Optimism. So we have lots to talk about. Christiana Figueres, welcome so much. I'm delighted you're here.
Well, thank you very much, Edna. Lovely to see you again.
And we've lots to talk about, and I know you have lots to say as always. So talk to us about, I think particularly, we look at the energy crisis around the world and, looking at Europe, what's happening there now. Do you think that there's going to be an impact on the climate debate, a bigger impact because of this?
Well, yes, for sure. But let's just go for a second to get a glimpse of where we were prior to the invasion of the Ukraine. Because at that point, I would argue that the global financial sector and many governments were shifting slowly but surely away from high carbon to clean energy investments on the basis that they had finally understood the various risks with continued exposure to climate change and the fundamental economic and social advantages of renewables. Now, I think we could all agree that the Ukrainian invasion changed that trend, at least in the short term. Because the fact that Russia conditioned its sales, the fact that Europe and other buyers are still today searching for alternative supply, or what Yellen called friend shoring our supply of gas, very interesting term that she used there, means that the large buyers of gas are actually relocating the supply, but they're not increasing demand. And because it has become such an issue where gas is going to come from, especially now to live through this very hot summer and prepare for winter, the impression is that the demand is increasing. It is not. It is simply relocating the demand, relocating the supply. So I think when the dust all settles, what we will see is yet again that this crisis, this energy crisis, has underscored the political factors that are underneath our fossil fuel dependence. We absolutely have a need for energy independence as the basis of political and economic independence. And what we are seeing now every day is the critical need to avoid being again the hostage to autocratic governments. So national and international security are really depending on domestically produced clean energy sources. Now, Edna, I actually fear that, as I say, when the dust settles, when the frenzy begins to come down, which may take, 6 to 12 months, it's actually going to be evident that the recent windfall profits in the fossil fuel industry came at the painful expense of turning poverty into misery among the most vulnerable populations due to the high prices of energy, transport, and food, all of which is interlinked. And furthermore, it's going to be evident that the industry is continuing its emissions and that puts millions of people at existential risk in the mid and long term. So I fear, Edna, that the social tolerance of the industry, which is already on the decrease or was already on the decrease before Ukraine, will sink even lower. Hence, the need for the industry to truly stand up to the challenges that we are actually facing right now.
I mean, I think without a doubt, the energy industry is definitely taking this on board. But when we look at energy security, we desperately need low carbon sources, and we have them. We have gas, we have LNG, we have, the new hydrogen economy that's happening as well. But again, how can these help with other sources? Make sure that actually energy security is at the very heart of what they're doing as well as making sure that these are affordable and clean and available?
Well, affordable, clean, and available, and I would say universally accessible, right? That's another really important piece, because it's absolutely outrageous that we still have 600 million people around the world who have absolutely no access to energy. And it is very clear that the fossil fuel industry as a whole, all of those sources, cannot meet that unelectrified need because of the structures of fossil fuel energy. So let's start there, which is the most morally driven place to start. Now, beyond that, the world definitely needs energy, and it needs increasing levels of energy, but that energy cannot be carbon-based. The IEA has been very clear. No new oil and gas exploration, because we have all but exhausted the carbon budget. So what do we need? We need a transition that has a basket of energy sources, a basket that is increasingly low in carbon. No one technology alone can answer the needs of what you've just put out there, Edna, quite correctly: clean, universal, and universally accessible, dependable energy. We need a basket, but that basket has to be increasingly low carbon. And we should not assume that gas, just to take that one, that gas has an unlimited time life, time shelf. It does not. The life of gas is definitely more than 5 years, but it is not more than 30. So the challenge for the oil and gas industry that I really hope this year they're really going to take on is, what is the glide path? What is the glide path of the oil and gas industry to be able to continue to be the energy companies of the world, continue to power the development and the well-being of the world, but through a glide path that takes them to net zero by 2050?